Parent Connection of San Luis Obispo County welcomes you to video 2 of our 5-part series, How to Help Your Family Build Resiliency During Challenging Times, taught by Ron Huxley, LMFT, and Parent Connection parent coach and educator. This free video series is made possible through the nonprofit agency Center for Family Strengthening and sponsored by the County of San Luis Obispo through the Mental Health Services Act and in collaboration with the Behavioral Health Department. In video 2, The Path to an Anxiety-Proof Family, Ron Huxley will teach about the high and low roads to managing anxiety. He will give examples, strategies, and activities to help you understand the role parents play in a child's ability to regulate, the benefits of co-regulation, and how to manage increased anxiety and stress. While you watch, feel free to jot down some notes. You can submit your questions and feedback to us at info@slowparents.org. We will send questions to Ron Huxley to answer in upcoming videos. Enjoy video 2, The Path to an Anxiety-Proof Family. Here is Ron Huxley.
Hi, I'm Ron Huxley, a licensed marriage and family therapist and a coach with Parent Connection. Welcome back to this second series on how to decrease anxiety in your home and build a greater family resiliency during these unprecedented, challenging times that we're in. In our first video, we talked about what is anxiety, why we have it, and what are the major roads of interventions that we can use in ourselves and with our children. In that video, we looked at how our nervous system is primed to protect us. Anxiety is a defensive mechanism that when we encounter a threat, we begin to marshalize our resources to either flee from the situation or to fight from the situation. Sometimes, unfortunately, fear is false evidence that appears real, and this fear is not something that we can fight or flee from. And when that situation happens, our nervous system becomes overwhelmed and we become into a perpetual cycle of rumination, worry, fear, and panic. And so we saw in the last video that there are really two roads to managing anxiety. There's the low road and the high road. The low road is a purely physiological response to our anxious feelings. And this is perfect for us as parents because a lot of our children don't yet developmentally have the cognitive skills to process logically what they're feeling and how to manage it. Sometimes as parents, we don't have that process either because anxiety can cause us to flip our lid and to hijacks our thinking. So what we want to be able to do at the low road is really be able to model skills for our children that allow them to manage their feelings without having to reason or lecture. The high road is a more cognitive approach where we start looking at the interrelationship between our thoughts and our feelings. See, we understand that how we think will produce our particular feelings in a given situation. It's not the circumstance itself that creates a lot of our feelings because someone else who is in the same situation, experiencing the same kind of dynamics, has maybe the same background as I do, may not be having a difficult situation just like I am having. And you can see that all around us when we talk about this pandemic. There's all kinds of responses, all kinds of feelings, and all kinds of reactions. So obviously we're not all feeling the same way about the situation. So in this video, we're going to talk about these two areas in a little more detail. And as we do so, I want you to keep in mind that this is really something that you're going to do with your child, not just for your child. Because we have to learn how to regulate ourselves and then be able to co-regulate our children. See, our children need us to be external regulators. It's just much like the baby who's crying in distress. We have to pick them up, hold them close, and as we do so, we co-regulate one another. And that repeated experience over time allows that baby then to learn how to internally regulate themselves. This is not done through a conscious way. It's a very unconscious, or maybe you could say even a subconscious way. What it really means is that it's on a subcortical or very biological level. Our nervous system learns how to adapt by being in close, healthy relationships with other people. And so this is the best way to help our children learn how to manage themselves. So another useful way to utilize the low road approach is just take a brain body break. That's how you would frame it for your children. You can see they're getting agitated, they're getting upset, maybe the homework's not getting done, they're fighting with one another. There's lots of things that could be going on that could indicate a sense of chaos in the home. At that moment, as a parent, you'll step in and say, hey, it's time for a brain break or a body break. And then at that point, we'll get up, we'll stretch, we'll do some yoga poses. We may take a little walk around the house or the block. And as you're walking, just stop and notice the things around you. Say, who can notice something yellow? Who can notice something blue? Who can notice something round? Who can notice something a triangle shape? And you can incorporate different ways to enhance our sensory system. And as they notice the things around them, they're not paying attention to the anxiety responses that are going on inside of them, or whatever conflict they're having with another sibling or with you, or with the math, or with the teacher, or the technology, right? There's so many things. And what this does is this, again, recreates that relaxation response through a bit of a distraction, but also just a sense of regulation. So it's walking and stretching will get the body to recalibrate so that it gets into a more peaceful response. So here's another tool that's now beginning to bring a connection between that low road and the high road approach. And this is a grounding exercise that it's called the 5-4-3-2-1. It's a great game. I've done this with kids in my practice as well as my own family. And so what I do is I say, what are 5 things that you can see right now around you? So you can stop and look around. I can see a window. I can see a vase. I can see a flower. I can see the monitor screen. I can see my sister, and so on. Then you ask, what are 4 things that you can hear right now? And so they pay attention to the sounds of a car outside, you talking, some music in the background, etc. And then we ask, what are 3 things that you can feel right now? Well, I can feel my bottom in the chair. I can feel a little bit of air in the room. I can feel my shirt on my skin. And then I ask, what are 2 things that you can smell or taste right now? So we combine those 2 sensory systems because sometimes it's a little harder. We can say, oh, I'm tasting a little of that juice that I had a little while ago, or I taste my gum right now, or I can smell some peppermint that mom put into the air, or I can smell my brother. So we focus on smell, the olfactory sensory system, and then finally we say, what's one good thing about me? And then I have to give something about me that I really like. So the 5-4-3-2-1 is a way to get, again, outside of our own internal reactivity and into a more external way, focus on things around us to allow our body to ground and while engaging them in a conversation. You know, one of the things that we have a habit of doing is that we will ask kids, how are you feeling today? And as a therapist, I have asked that thousands of times. But sometimes when we're dealing with anxiety, this can be actually the worst thing that we can say. Because sometimes when we say, hey, how are you feeling today? We say, I feel lousy, I feel anxious, I feel depressed, I feel angry, I feel frustrated. And so feeling words are great in that they help build an emotional vocabulary, which helps kids express their feelings instead of acting out their feelings. And so in that way, it's a very useful tool. But when we're dealing with intense anxiety and panic, sometimes it's ask ourselves better, what do we believe about today? So this is a high road approach to dealing with our thoughts that may lead to anxiety or depression or frustration. If we stop and ask ourselves, what do I believe about today? We can get at some of the cognitive roots to our emotional states. So a lot of times we will try to use affirmations or declarations and say positive things about what we want to believe to be true. I believe that today is going to be a day of a lot of productivity, a lot of joy, a lot of fun, some laughter. We're going to enjoy our time together. We're going to have some sweet moments, and we're going to really feel excited about the things that we experience today on our hike or our walk. So at the moment that I'm experiencing anxiety or panic or fear, I don't feel those things are true. That's because, again, anxiety is embodied in our physical system, and so they don't feel true. But if we start to believe that they're true and we make those affirmations or statements of belief about how we want our day to go, surprisingly, it starts going that way. And the reason is because we start opening up our cognitive thinking to see other possibilities and options to our day, we begin to focus on the things that are good that are happening to us and that are positive, not just the negative things that we feel. Another high road approach is to write out a story. And you can incorporate this in maybe your homework assignments if you have some English or a writing assignment, but have them write out a story about a fictional character who has to deal with some type of fear or anxiety or just some challenge they have to get through, and have them come up with strategies that will help that character overcome or to cope. Maybe they go and they talk to a friend that helps them. Maybe they've learned some type of skill. Maybe they've been able to read and study and research something so they better understand something. Like, what is the coronavirus? And they've talked to their parent about it. Their parent explained it to them. So have them come up with a story. You can provide some structure to it and some direction, maybe give some ideas, but you want them to use their own creative imagination on how they might be able to solve this problem. And what they're doing is really solving the problem for themselves and their own feelings and how to get through that difficult situation. And they'll understand that on some level, but because we're utilizing our imagination, this will help. And that leads to another tool that we can use to help with the high road of dealing with anxiety and to build family resilience. And that's our imagination. If you stop and think about what anxiety is, it's fear of the fear. It's not even that we're experiencing it. We can just think about it and we can experience the same amount of fear as if we were doing it. For example, if I'm on a roller coaster and that creates a lot of fear in me, just thinking about a roller coaster could create fear in me. If I'm afraid of spiders, just thinking about a spider can create a lot of anxiety in me. That's because anxiety can be fear of the fear. It's our imagination. We imagine the worst case scenario. We imagine how all the terrible things that could possibly happen will happen. We catastrophically think in our own minds and images about how this coronavirus is going to affect our world, affect our life. And when we utilize our imagination, it intensifies our feelings of anxiety. It's how we are created to creatively problem solve situations by utilizing our imagination. But you can use it in a constructive way as well, through the storytelling way, through doing a puppet show, having kids develop a skit with a certain theme that you've sort of helped guide and lead, do some dramatic acting around the situation, role play around the situation, do some pretend play with characters or figures that they might have. All these are ways to help them creatively use their imagination in a way that's proactive against anxiety and fear. Now, for older kids, you can do the same thing, but you're going to have more elaborate sort of approaches. They may lead the skit or help direct the skit and do a lot of the props and the costumes for the younger children, but they're going to be involved in the situation. They might take the camera outside and film a scene, or maybe they're going to do a news report and they're going to talk about what are some good news that they've been seeing, and they're going to create their own little news report show, maybe even broadcasting on YouTube. You can, again, be as creative as you want to be. You remember, anxiety can shut down our creative thinking, but if we utilize our creative thinking, then we can overrule our anxious feelings and manage them. Anxiety is not bad. Anxiety helps us stay safe. But when we don't have our executive functioning skills or creative problem-solving skills that are managing it, it can get out of control and cause us to feel a lot of fear and anxiety, which really disrupts our life and our relationships and ultimately our health.
We hope you enjoyed video 2, The Path to an Anxiety-Proof Family. We want to hear how your new skills are helping you and your children with anxious feelings. Contact us at info@slowparents.org or call us at 805-543-3700. If you missed video 1, you can find it at slowparents.org on the online parent education page. Register for our newsletter to receive video 3 in your inbox next week.